All right, here we are, another episode of The Grail. This will be a very cool episode. I don't think I've ever talked about the bandana before, but my guest makes an incredible bandana. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jenni Earle Hopkins. I started making bandanas about 4 years ago, right here in North Carolina. I live in Winston-Salem, and we make them from southern grown cotton, so from the dirt all the way up.
Wow. So
Yeah.
I got mine out in Joshua Tree,
Yeah.
and it's funny to think about something as simple as the bandana
hmm
in a way that how many ways it has been used over the years, a lot in fashion. I mean, if you look at like rock and roll,
hmm
you look at, I mean, even going back to the early gay world of like the 70s in the cruising form of having them in your back pocket, meaning which way you go, what you do. I learned that on the Al Pacino movie Cruising. Cowboys rocked them for
Yeah.
years.
Yep.
And then, pandemic now. It's just been,
It's an essential fashion staple of the pandemic for sure.
and I think up until I bought this one that you make, I don't even think I ever bought one. I wondered how I even ended up with all kinds of bandanas. I remember growing up, David Lee Roth was the king of bandanas. This guy had them all over his body, and I knew I had to get a bandana, and then later on, Axl Rose, of course, with the one on the forehead,
Yep.
or Bret Michaels' Poison. But the bandana has been around as, forever in the fashion world.
Yes, it has. Well, it's been around. So it was originally brought to this country for political purposes. So people would wear them to show what candidate they were going to vote for, and they had like really beautiful illustrations of what that party stood for. So, but then you're right, cowboys, pioneers. It's always kind of been this symbol of the rebel, right? The rock and roller, the outlaw country guys. Willie is
Yep.
synonymous with the bandana. So I kind of had a Vujade moment, which is like you take something that it's all in all of our closets or drawers. And what would happen if we like assigned meaning to it? Like, what if we could make it that lucky rabbit's foot? So I really wanted, after going through some tough stuff, really wanted to bring something to the marketplace that could transfer bravery to someone or like let them know just how brave they already are. And I thought back in my life as like, did I have an object, like something that made me feel stronger than I thought I was? And it was my grandfather's bandanas. And so I took that idea. I was like, yeah, like I can draw it. I know how to dye. I come from textile background. I can dye them and make them just the right color and break them in. We wash them 3 times through the dyeing process. And I've been really excited about making them from the dirt up right here in the Southeast. So yeah, and it really works. We started, like I said, almost 4 years ago, and we're sold all over the country. And we get these beautiful messages every day of people like showing up more bravely to their life because they have this thing to hold on to.
What did you do before the bandanas? Were you in a different, complete world?
Yeah, well, not completely different. I was a stylist for commercial photography and video. So set and wardrobe styling. Before that, had babies. Before that, designed dancewear. So I trained as a costume designer and then kind of switched over into the fashion world, but have done a lot of different things. I've always had that entrepreneurial bug, though.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, I know like when I go to like Ralph Lauren, they'll sell some old vintage bandanas.
Mhm.
And I don't even really know who made these bandanas over the years and years. Was it like Levi or Wrangler or who, just a side piece that they were selling or what? But the history of the bandana is mind boggling to me because as I was getting ready to interview you, I was like,
Mhm.
I've actually had bandanas all my life. I remember young being in a camp. And if you were a great camper, they gave you these ones called the Green Sea, and it was a bandana, and it would just say outstanding camper with a patch on it. And you wore that around like, I'm a great camper,
Yeah.
But
Strutting around camp.
like I said, man, the bandana, I always thought like maybe it was just originally was a cowboy thing, going across the plains with it over your face in a dust storm. Looking back at Coachella all these years, we're always wearing bandanas out there, but they're around. So when you first think about it, do you sit down and go, well, yeah, let's get a bandana going, but how much money could we really do? You know what I'm saying? It seems like such a side piece that companies would do. Like, here's our denim and our shirts. Oh, and a bandana.
We'll add that in. Yes. Which is what I was seeing. Like, I didn't see anybody in the fashion world that had branded the bandana. It's always this thing. And it's usually the paisley design. And it's usually, navy blue, red, pretty standard colors. And
that's another thing. Gangs. Yeah. Gangs with the bandanas. I almost missed that. Gangs. Gangs.
Yes.
The
The Bloods and the Crips, man.
Yeah.
Can't forget them.
So, go ahead.
Yeah. So, I saw that as like an opportunity. Like, nobody's ever kind of flipped this thing on its head and designed it for this object specifically that we kind of all have in our lives. So yeah, I like that element of it. And like I said, that symbol of rebels and outlaws, like we could do a lot with that, with the messaging of it and then the meaning of it.
Did you dive into it once you wanted to get into the bandana, like the history of it, like who were making them back in the day and all that?
I'm a total nerd about textiles. So yes, they're originally made in India. And I think that's what kept them as that side piece for fashion. It's always just, the thing that it's the last minute you pick it up at the register kind of thing. So I wondered if I could make a whole business around something that you can buy for $2 at Walmart, like could we scale it and make it have more value? But yeah, the history is, I've always been a Willie Nelson fan, grew up listening to him with my grandpa and all of Waylon and all them. So that's kind of my earliest memories of cool bandanas. And then equating that, I think, to my grandpa and being like, yeah.
Yeah, I saw Willie at the Fillmore. I've seen Willie quite a few times, but I saw him at the Fillmore, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 years ago. And in between each song, he would roll a new bandana and give it to a fan. And I was like, this is amazing. I mean, he probably did 20 bandanas a night in between each song. And Willie was definitely, and there's the different styles of wearing the bandana. Some go the Axl Rose big or also Suicidal Tendencies was really, those guys wore it like that. But then Willie wears it, rolled kind of tight and smaller. And, more like a headband in a way of catching sweat if you were, playing hoop or something, like you didn't have a regular headband. You're like, this is my headband. And then I know growing up and down the 99 over the years here in California, a lot of the pickers wore bandanas but they all wore them in a different style, which is pretty interesting.
You kind of dial in your own thing. I love twisting them before I put them around my neck. It kind of holds it a little tighter.
Yeah. I like it I'm 55 now, so it's my excuse during the pandemic. It hides old neck. That's what I say. Like, when you got an old neck, you're like, oh, the pandemic. Yeah, I got to wear this.
I'll wear it nice and tall.
All of a sudden you look like you're 20 years younger. I got a bandana on. And, like if we were wearing a bandana every day 2 years ago, you'd be like, what are you doing, dude?
I know. That's what people looking at me. What are you doing? I'm like, I make these. They're cool. Just wait. Yeah. Who knew I was in the face covering business?
Yeah, right.
I sure did.
Oh, bank robbers. We can't forget bank robbers. Throughout the show, we're going to remember all the people that bank robbers.
I'm sure there's like some sort of quintessential cartoon character. I don't think the rooster, what was his name?
Yeah, Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah. He should have worn a bandana.
Yeah. What are you doing? You ain't got a bandana. Now, once you decide to do this, you're married?
No.
Okay. Well, you said you had babies or whatever.
But, yes, I'm divorced.
Okay, so you're single. So I was going to say, you don't have to run it by anybody where they go, bandana. What are you, crazy? They're like you said, they're $1 at Walmart. And and it goes right down to everything I have on the show. It's always very high end. So if I'm going to feature a bandana maker on here, there's a reason why. Yeah. And to think about it is It's a lot like denim. Yeah. Denim can be $10, $20 at Target, and it can also be $1,000. So
that's right.
we all know there's different stuff in that. Now, once you realize you want to do the bandana, do you research how can I make the best bandana? Was that the thing? Because it's super soft and nice. So how do you do that?
Yeah, it was really important to me. Quality is a huge thing, and not only just quality in the look of it, but I wanted it to wear. Like, I love wearing my great grandfather's bandanas in my house that my grandpa, when I started this, was like, here, you need these. So I wanted them to last, like the utility and all the different ways, like you said, the pickers in the fields to, you know, somebody walking down Madison Avenue. I wanted it to have utility and range. But I was really interested in, can we make this all the way through the supply chain in the United States? So that's where I started. And there's value in that. People, when they hear that the cotton is grown here and milled here and cut and sewn and all those steps that go on, and we're dyeing it in the studio by hand, that I'm mixing these colors up, coming up with each color uniquely. There's value in that. There's artistry in that. So, I priced it I did the cost of goods. How long is it taking me to do this stuff? How much does this stuff cost? We do it in a really sustainable way. So I put it at the price that it needed to be, and we're doing great with it. I think people want to know, they're interested in that transparency of the making process, and they'll value it. And especially once you get it in your hands, and it's so soft, it gets softer every time you wash it.
Yeah.
It just keeps getting better and better.
So what do you do? Do you reach out to like a cotton mill first, or how does the process go as you're starting to make your first bandana? And did you go through a bunch of different ones? Like, nah, this ain't right yet.
Yeah, I actually traded a guy. I was working in an artist studio downtown, and I taught him like computer illustration, and he taught me how to screen print, because I was going to do all the steps myself. So I got some fabric right here in town, because we're in the textile region with all the home decor. There's a lot of furniture making and stuff. So you can kind of find any kind of fabric you want. So I found this beautiful white cotton fabric that's milled and made in the US, and then started dyeing it. And then I learned how to screen print. And let me tell you, Dean, it's like that moment where you're like, I was going to do this all myself, and that was going to be a rad part of the story. And I fucking was terrible at it. I have ink all over my body. That is an art.
Oh, yeah.
It's not me. I'm much more of a dyer. The dye room is like, there's splashed colors all over the walls. So yeah, it was not a screen printer. So I'm like, okay, we'll do some of it. But yeah, then once I got to the point where I needed help, because I made just 100 and sold them here in Winston-Salem, to see if I could translate the feeling, right? And sold 100, and immediately people were like, I need 4 more for the women I'm sitting with in chemo, or I need one, my nephew's going to college and he needs this to take with him to be brave. He's the first one in our family that's going to college. So there were these really beautiful touch points immediately. And I was like, okay, this is a thing. So then I went to a cut and sew house and started working with them. And they then contacted the company that made the fabric, and we worked it out that way. So they've been really helpful. And as we've scaled, I've just met more and more people. It's like you ask enough questions and shake enough hands that people really want the textile industry to be strong, and for us to create more jobs and all that stuff here in our community. So people are quick to be like, oh, you got to meet this guy that's doing this. And so at every step of the process, when we've wanted to scale or do things on a bigger platform, I've been able to make those connections and keep it all right here, which is really cool.
I'm looking at the colors right now.
Yeah.
I think that's really what grabbed me at first. I was just in Joshua Tree and saw this color, and I was like, oh yeah. And then I like this kind of weird off green gray. And I started seeing the colors, and I was like, wow, this is some cool. And then, little prints on it. Like, I think mine has cactuses on it.
Yep.
And, my podcast network's called Cactus Radio Network. Yeah, and I love cactus, and I love the desert. So I started to really get into it. And then I started looking at the dye process that was put up on TikTok. Let's talk a little bit how you pick the colors. And So you dye it first and then it dries and you send it to the screen printer?
Yes. But in between those two is the hardest part of this whole process, or takes the most time, is the ironing, I would never, the ironing almost put me out of business.
Whoa.
I did not consider. So it took me weeks, like in between that first run where I wasn't really keeping track of time. The next couple runs that we did, I couldn't get it under 2 minutes of bandana. So I was like, this part's, I can't pay someone to do this. Like, this is going to put me out of business. But
right.
I went to a dry cleaner and I said, show me everything that you have that makes things flat, all the machines. And so we looked at everything. And then not 5 days later, he called and said, I just got this rotary iron used. I'll sell it to you for $500 if you want it. And I was like, I will be there in 10 minutes.
So hold on. You cut it, you dye it, but when it comes out dyed, it's all wrinkled and it needs to be flat for the silk screener.
Because we wash it. Yeah, we wash it before it goes in the dye. Then it goes in the dye. Then we wash it twice more because I really want it to feel broken in.
Right.
When you get it, like in the package. Yeah. So then we iron it in between those two steps.
And you have to iron it anyway so they can silk screen it,
so they can silk screen it. That's exactly right. Wow.
So you were hand ironing the first 100?
Uh-huh. My mother and I ironed for 10 hours straight one day. We watched Outlander as we did it. We're like blushing during the sexy bits. We're like, oh my God. Anyways, we're just ironing 10 hours. I put this popped a table up in the living room. We just ironed and ironed. She's been really helpful through this. Yeah. And she was, when you were saying like nobody to check with, she laughs now. She was like, I remember you came downstairs one day and said, I think I'll make bandanas. And she was like, whatever. Another list and the things that Jenni said she was going to make.
The rotary iron, how'd that work? You just throw it on there and it just spins?
Yeah, it's like a big wheel. Like, those things that you now like can roll and make your muscles feel better.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of that size and shape.
Like a foam wheel.
Yes. And you just like lay it across the top and push this foot lever and there it goes and it comes out. And so we can do bandanas in like 22 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is great, which, equivalent to money is like 40 cents. So you got to price all that out.
Were you coming up with the designs on the bandanas?
Yes, I hand draw all of them. I'm also a geek about symbols and like what cactus is a symbol of, like that they can sustain so much with limited resources. Like there's power in that. Yeah. I think we kind of all live much larger, or we think we need so much more than we actually need. And when you get down to what is it I actually need? And I think that hold up of thinking we need so much holds us back from taking bold steps in our life. You think, oh, well, if I don't want to lose my fancy apartment or whatever, it's like, let's get down to the necessities, because there's internal necessities that we need that make us feel much richer than, anyway, that's my own little subject.
No, I 100% believe in that. It's, I started comedy late in life, and it's all that really matters to me. And during the pandemic, I kept thinking, well, I might as well be dead because I can't do what I love. And, the stand-up comedy is just a massive thing. And I got diabetes when I did during the stand-up, and realized I'll cut everything out. Nothing's going to take away the joy of the stand-up. Yes. And so, there are things in life, and you, a lot like me, being a constant search for creating something and being in that artistic thing,
Yep.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah. You started comedy at like 44. Yeah. And tell me about the first time. I was thinking about this, like you are who I make this product for. Like whatever was the catalyst. I don't know how long you thought about doing stand-up comedy, but the catalyst of stepping out on stage that first time, like that's that sweet spot that I'm designing for, is like you pick one of these things up. It says trust yourself, or it says blaze a trail, or yours says explore more. And you take that first step, because that's the hardest.
Well, I'm a sucker for these type of shops, and you'll find it in Palm Springs. You'll find it in Joshua Tree. You'll find it in Sedona. You'll find it in these areas where they're kind of little boutiques that have people that make stuff like oils. I love smells,
Yeah.
like an oil you can't find anywhere. Like I'm obsessed with those kind of little shops. You'll find like bandanas. You'll find, cool little stickers for your car, or
Yeah.
just it's loaded with stuff. A guy makes hats. Oh, this guy's in town. He's 90. I got this incredible mud dyed sweatshirt while I was out there. This guy takes old vintage sweatshirts and then mud dyes them.
Cool.
An original old school way. And I just love shops like that because you're getting stuff that you're supporting people. And in this horrific United States, Walmart world and strip malls, I grew up in the Bay Area, and Haight-Ashbury was my stomping grounds. It was like that and flea markets. You'd be like, whoa, what's this old little thing here?
Yes.
And those are fascinating to me. And when people are making new versions of that and they're surviving from it, I think it is just next level. It tears me up. I love it because I'm like, oh my God, I love this bandana. It's just a bandana in most people's eyes.
Cloth. That's right.
There's a big difference. And I've bought a $100 bandana, vintage one, because it was like so soft. And from the 50s, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yes, those make my knees weak. I just cannot stop. And I think too, the bandana, because of, like we've said, bank robber to cowboy to all those things, people have and reach out to us like, oh, this reminds me of my uncle always had a bandana, or this. Like, I think bandanas is another way where you have your personal story that you bring to that object too. Yeah.
I mean, I think my first recollection of a bandana, there's two of them. One was at the gas station. The guy just came out and your car's overheating, and he took his bandana out so he could get the water heater top off,
Yep.
And the radiator just,
right.
And the other one was just old men. When I'd ride the Greyhound, they'd just be blowing their nose in and putting it back in their pocket. And I'd be like, oh, ew. I'm like, you just put your nose, throw it away.
But you can watch that. Like, let's all these disposable things. Like, I think it's a great deal.
Yeah. How many designs do you have now?
We have 17 right now.
Can you show the people some of them?
Oh, sure.
That'd be great.
Oh, right. Because we're
on video and we're on audio also.
So this, I love this one. Trust Yourself is this beautiful like ochre color. This took me a while to get this color right.
Oh, wow. Now, what are the dyes? Are they natural?
No, we don't use, I know people ask me that all the time. They're like, do you grow the berries? I'm like, no. They would cost $4,000 if I was out in the field smashing berries up. But they are sustainable. They come from Petaluma, California, actually.
Wow, that's a Petaluma. That's my old stomping grounds.
Oh, yeah? That's Bay Area. You said Bay Area.
It's just Sonoma County, Petaluma, and Marin County. And that's funny, too, because as you go up north into the Redwoods, it's a heavy logger land up there, and that's a bandana world up there. And also some of the first motorcycle biker runs I went on was the Redwood Run, and that was Bandana City. There's not a biker that doesn't own at least 5 bandanas.
Yeah.
So you get the dye from Petaluma?
It's Petaluma. Yep.
This
it's called
amazing.
Dharma Trading.
Uh-huh.
And it's a sustainable, it's called fiber reactive dye. So when I started, I was using a heat reactive dye when I started in my kitchen doing 6 at a time. Now we have graduated to doing 75 at a time in these big igloo coolers. It's like Southern, So igloo coolers on like a cart, and we shake it up like that, and then we can drain it out the bottom. That was the thing that got me in the igloo.
How long does it take for the dye to get into it?
The whole process is about 2.5 hours. You got to add salt and add this and that, and you kind of like have to agitate it for certain amounts of time and add more things. So it's fun. It's kind of sciencey.
You got to put salt in there?
Yeah. So the salt helps the dye bind to the fabric.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then there's something called soda ash, which we also get from Petaluma that then helps the over dye. So it'll wash off so that, it doesn't leave your neck blue.
Oh yeah. That was
So
what I was going to ask you about that. Cause when you get fresh, have you ever done any,
denim
indigo, ones? Because you get fresh denim and that stuff will be on your hands. You'll be like, my hands are blue today.
I know. Or like the inside of your pockets, like just on the pocket parts are blue.
Yeah.
So that's Trust Yourself. And then Blaze a Trail.
Love that one. That one. And is that pomegranate colored?
It's like a maroon kind of a thing. Beautiful. I try not to do any colors that are like colors that you can be like, oh, that's blue. Right. It's like, always there's, and I like gray. I like it to even the colors to look washed out. And so this is one we did for the pandemic time. I'm Still Standing.
Wow. That's
great. Kind of a blush color, but this like the monotony of the pandemic, and then we can still grow from that. Right. So it's all kind of seeded in. Did you explode during the pandemic? We did. We doubled our sales. And I kept all my 7 people, I kept them employed during the entire pandemic. Great. Which was amazing. You can't wear them on the airplane anymore, unfortunately. But I wear it everywhere. Now, what else you got? Let's see a few more. Okay. So this was the original Be Brave. So this comes in black. Wow. And in a blue color, in this blue color. Wow, so that's Be great. Brave. So that was, it's a very simple pattern. Be brave. I just wanted people to know, like, you are braver than you think. And I know this for a fact. So here, take this thing and go do whatever your heart says to do. Camp and toilet paper. It just came to me. Yes. It was an emergency camp and toilet paper. Rag. That's right. Yeah. You see all the through hiker, like those hikers that just hike and hike and hike for months at a time, they have it tied on and they use it for, it's not just boogers. Throw that thing away. I like that color right there. Yeah. This is the color you mentioned, I think. It's roam free. And it has some like mountain patterns, kind of suggested mountains. But then I love hiding. There's little symbols like even inside. So I've hidden like a little sunburst in there. That's great. That's great. So there's like, even as you open them, there's more. We did, this one's chin up buttercup, which is a phrase that my grandmother used to say all the time. And this sold really well in the pandemic. Lots of people needed to hear this. But I designed this, like there's seeds around the border. Oh, yeah. And then, an incrementally smaller amount, then the seeds come up as the little bloom. And then there's that one like perfect bloom in the middle. You think about the bandana, it was just the paisley was the design. Isn't that weird? It was like, that's the bandana. It's paisley. I was like, well, what about other stuff? I know. And it's a perfect canvas for storytelling. So that's what I loved about yours. They were really subtle. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like, a bunch of junk on it. It was just like, oh, this is nice. So like I took a picture of it a couple of days ago and someone said, wow, great bandana. I love the little cactuses on there. People look at the detail and stuff. I don't know what mine says. I never even looked. Does it say something? Explore more. Yeah. Yours says explore more. It's perfect for me. Yeah. Oh. And that's both internally and externally. Yeah. So we want to, make sure you're exploring those internal things. But I think that's one of my favorite parts of the design process is the editing. And I think that's so often overlooked is we think that the art is just the adding on, but there's a big part to me, like there's not a line on any of these bandanas that doesn't need to be there. Like I've thought it through and like, I want just enough. I want that message and that story that I said to like really come across. So the editing, I think, is really important. Once you get the original 100, where did you go to sell them? Just somewhere in town that you knew was kind of the type of boutique to sell it at? Because you got this price point, I think the $30. Yep. They're 34 now. 34. Yep. Mm-hmm. So my point is you go in and you go into a shop and you go, hey, I'm making these bandanas and there's such and such money, where they're just like, that's kind of pricey, I have met that a lot and that's fine. I mean, I think certain people, whatever. We're not for everyone. So even our like outdoor store here was like, they don't look like bandanas. That was the first thing the guy said to me. And I was like, that's the point. Like they're not supposed to look like regular bandanas. So they didn't end up carrying them, but I went to the farmer's market here, and which we have like a beautiful organic farmer's market that I thought it would align with those people's values. And then we had a craft fair here, and I went there and they were gone.
Wow.
Yeah. So just kind of, you put yourself in the place where you know that like minds are there, right? So I'm not going to go to Target and pitch this, obviously.
Right.
But, like Patagonia, people who buy Patagonia are going to, you know what I mean? So you have to find those people.
People at the shops I go to, Standard and Strange and Self Edge, these are, high-end Japanese clothing, denim and really high-end workwear and stuff and handmade stuff mostly.
Yeah, that can tell when you feel it and look at it. Like one of the things that really sets our bandanas apart is this hem. And most of bandanas have like that, just the interlocking on the outside, and it's kind of scratchy and whatever. But I worked with the cut and sew house to make sure that it was like old school, that had this nice little hem on it.
Wow. So the old ones had the hem?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, if you look back at like Elephant brand and stuff, it was like not just the surgy ends. Yeah, you'll see that a lot in the bandana world, in the current bandana world, because production, they're just like, we can just zip it or, So I wanted to elevate it in that way too, for those people who are denim geeks, because I count myself among them, that can really like immediately go like, oh, this is different and special. But so we've kind of thought through every part of it.
So once you sell the first 100, you get back into making some more. Mm-hmm. And do you sell them by hand again at the same process, or are you finding the stores, or how do you start to find the stores and get rolling?
Okay. So something amazing happened. I sent them in. So the one you're wearing is the second one I designed. So I had Be Brave.
Yeah.
And I made it blue. It was the blue version. And I designed that one. And I sent it to, there's a magazine here called Garden and Gun. And it's like the best of the South. Have you seen this magazine?
I know what it is. I know what it is. It's like Cigar Magazine and Cowboy.
Yeah,
I know that magazine.
Gorgeous photography. They tell beautiful stories about handmade stuff and Southern made stuff. So they have a Made in the South Awards. And so I was like, I've sent in lots of other things I've made. So I sent in the bandanas, and Reese Witherspoon was the style judge that year. So
wow. I
get a phone call and it says, send your bandanas to Reese Witherspoon at this address. And I was like, oh my God. Like I went to FedEx. I was like, this is the most important package you are going to send today. Do you understand? Like this has to get. So a couple more weeks go by and I got a call that we won the style section of the Made in the South Awards. So I totally freaked out. I was like, this is amazing. I went to back to their like archives of who else has won. And I found a pottery maker and a glass maker that were kind of in my area, and called them to see like what impact did it have. Sometimes you're in magazines and it doesn't really drive sales. And they were like, make as many bandanas as you can. So that was the 10 hour, me and my mom watching Outlander for 10 hours. So we just started, hammered out. I think we made 1,000 of each one. Wow. And that was, we got the website, up and running it was kind of a blog before. So I got the e-commerce part of that going strong. And then when that magazine hit, we had a really good holiday season. Wow. And then stores started calling. And I went to Atlanta market then. So just kind of took some big steps right off the bat. Took the revenue that we made at the holidays and was able to get a little booth in the Atlanta market and started selling to stores.
Wow. Yeah. Now, is that how the Joshua Tree place found? It's next to the cafe there. Yeah, I don't know if you've been
the Hoof and the Horn. They're one of our best customers.
Oh yeah. You get to Joshua Tree, you stop at this cafe, and before you go to Pioneer Town, you got to get a little coffee, and then you go in there while you're waiting for the coffee, and then you go like, I could just see the girls. Oh, this is cute. We got boom, boom.
And we're out in the desert. We got to have a bandana.
We got to get a bandana. And I was like, man, me and my buddy Steve are like, hey, these are killer. Look at it. I got to get one of these. Actually, I didn't buy it the first day. The next day I go, I got to go back and get that bandana.
You kept thinking about it.
Yeah, I did. I was like, I got to go get that thing, and I became obsessed with it. Just,
awesome.
I started wearing it all over the place. And it's funny, even, the masks are lifting off and I still kind of like wearing it.
Yeah, it becomes kind of security blanket-ish, doesn't it? Yeah.
Well, I played music all my life and I wore bandanas around my neck or on my head. And I've been a biker all my life. I wore them riding and they've been in my mix forever. Other than the 10 years, 11 years of doing comedy where I just kind of put the bandana down. And now I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, this is.
Let's merge that, right?
Yeah.
We get your music biker. We're just going to merge that right on with your stand-up comedy.
Well, I'm obsessed with Joshua Tree in Palm Springs too. And I think it just fits right in out there, that look,
Yeah.
But it's not really, I always love when people go like, yeah, I can't really pull that off. Yeah, you can. You're not in junior high. There's not going to be kids that make fun of you. Establish yourself on things you like. Just go out there and do it, Yes.
Does it make you feel good?
Yeah.
I have a big thing about like making your insides match your outsides, making your outsides match your like if you want to, fill in the blank, do it. Like what is stopping you? Some idiot?
I know.
Do you even care what they think about you?
Yeah. I mean, look at those people that wear the hats out there right now, Yep.
Have you seen those hats these women are wearing with like brims this big?
Yeah. I've got some friends. They're wearing like these oversized Billy Jack hats and that guy Nick over in Venice is really killing it with the hats. And people love giant hats with turquoise. There's that Santa Fe vibe going around, and
for sure.
But yeah, now let's get into the big bandana.
Okay,
let's show that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's show that. And what was the idea behind that?
So the wild rag, I really wanted to do a larger bandana in the thought that it can be more versatile. There are cultures that wear them around their heads. Like there were limitations to the size, even though I wanted, of course, to stick to traditional bandana size to start. So I looked all over for this fabric. It's a double gauze. So it's 2 layers of very thin cotton and it's like heaven. So we did a shibori dye on this.
Wow.
So this is 36 by 36.
Right.
And you can wear it. So there's embroidered elements and printed elements on this after the shibori dyeing, which is like you fold it like an accordion and pinch it with clothespins.
Right.
And then we dye 18 at a time. So that goes in and then you take the clothespins off after they come out and it makes this gorgeous pattern.
How do you wear this? Because I see the guy wearing it. It looks cool as shit in the Instagram. It's all big and everything.
Yeah.
But like, how do you do it? Like, it reminds me of when Lenny Kravitz about 15 years ago. Remember he had the blanket around. He's walking around New York and it was like supposed to be a scarf, but it was a damn blanket.
It was a blanket and everybody was like, what the fuck is that? And then
and I loved it though. I was like, look how balls out Lenny is. He's just out there like, yeah.
He's so cozy, Lenny Kravitz. I mean, right. He can do anything.
Oh, he's just the best, man. I love him.
So this, you can take it, like fold it like you do your bandanas triangular. Right. So you can either just go up and around like that and keep your tip down.
Right.
And then I styled that guy, Osner, his name is just a gorgeous, super fun model. And I just went like put the tip in and then went around.
Right. That's how I like it.
Ways. Yeah. And then you just tie the bits.
Like that's good for like New York when it's windy and cold,
And it's not suffocating because the fabric is so light. It's just, it feels really good.
Yeah, that's great.
But like ladies can wear them at the beach or, spread it out and have a picnic on it. There's just, again, it's like a bigger square of cotton. You can do anything you want with it. And so we have that one and then this ochre one, which, yeah. And then we have on there like batch of 36 because it takes time to make these things. And this one we tie in the middle so it becomes kind of like this eyeball effect.
That's great. It's almost like opium,
really,
you know?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
You could you could totally just stare at it and trip out. Yeah.
So are you killing it now? Okay. Well, before we jump into what kind of business you're doing,
okay.
The next move was obviously Instagram. And I immediately went to your Instagram and just started looking all, because once I loved it, they had like 6 colors there and stuff, but I wanted to see what else you had. So I was looking at the Instagram and I just love this. What is this green one? You're not going to see it because I got a backdrop on it, but it's got the T-bird on it or whatever.
Yeah, that's Feel the Fear.
Oh, show me that.
So this says Feel the Fear, do it anyway. This was the 3rd one.
That is beautiful, that one. That is so good.
Yeah, this was a major editing moment here, getting this border right. Yeah, I love it.
Wow.
So Feel the Fear, do it anyway. Always a good thing to keep in mind.
So you start to get the designs and then you create your Instagram. I'm looking at your Instagram. You have almost 10,000, which is amazing. And you can buy them right on the Instagram, right?
Yep.
That's great.
It pops you right over. Now that we're on Shopify too, we did a new website in December and on Shopify, and so good. All you makers out there, start with Shopify. Just
Shopify. What's that?
Oh my God, so good. It's an e-commerce platform.
Yeah.
So you can either convert like a WordPress. They have plugins now where you can kind of convert it to do e-commerce.
Yeah.
But Shopify was built from like tech digital foundation, but built as an e-commerce platform. So it is just so smooth. And it hooks into everything and everything's easy. And the analytics are so great. So yeah, you can really learn about how your customers kind of journeying through and what hangs them up and makes them bounce. So it's basically like an online store, but it gives you all kinds of back-end info. Yes. It's easy to understand too. They don't, put it in a way where you're just like, this is data jargon that nobody normal can understand.
So once you get the Instagram up, does it start to really pop off? How many years have you been doing this for?
Yeah, it'll be 4 in July.
And is it really kicking ass now?
Yeah, it is. Like, I really want to broaden our reach. I think that we've grown an awareness to a certain point and kind of plateaued. Pandemic helped with that awareness because people were just, Googling bandanas.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot more that we can do and a lot more people we haven't reached. And I think the impact that the story makes with these things, it's just like, I want everybody to have one. I went through a severe depression. I don't want anybody to ever feel that helplessness.
Right.
And I just want, I sign all my stuff like I'm rooting for you. And that's so true. Like I'm sitting here like, you do the things like, oh yeah, what do you need? What can we talk about?
What was your depression geared around?
It was, I had the babies. I had 2 boys. And so many women they like lose themselves in that early, infant and toddlerhood. I was married to someone who, he's a trauma surgeon. So as he was kind of going through that surgery program training, he was getting less flexible about what was right and wrong. Right. So my voice became more and more diminished in value. And I was exhausted trying to, keep up with an infant and a toddler that I just let it go. Like his way was fine. It's like, whatever, we're just surviving this. So as we came out of toddlerness and we got into like preschool where I could actually do something again, in my mind, there's, something they talk about in relationships is like those unspoken contracts. So I thought when the babies went to preschool that then I would get to start being artistic and creative again. But by that time I had kind of created the marriage around that. I was subservient basically, and had given him all the power. So I rented a little artist studio that was completely not okay with him.
Right.
I was making art. So I started.
He just boxed you into the home wife.
Right.
This is
like
it.
be the doctor's wife, put the seersucker on, go to the, make the lemon squares. Like I had never wanted that.
Yeah.
He fell in love with an artist. You get so caught up in the shoulds. And so I got to the point where I was looking in the mirror. I didn't know who I was, and the things that I was doing to try to reestablish who I was were creating a lot of conflict in my life. So I just felt like I didn't have any possibilities. And when you lose the sight of possibility, then you're fucked.
Yeah.
So I went, kept spiraling down and down, and tried alcohol and all, different things to try to just numb and bear it, as they say. And that just made me sink even further. So it wasn't until I ended up one night out by myself going to a movie and coming home, and I was planning to run off there was black ice out, and I was like, this is perfect. Like I can run off the road and no one will ever know it was suicide, and it'll be an accident. My kids won't have to bear that, And then it hit me how real it was that I did not want to be on this earth anymore.
Wow.
And felt like the boys and my husband, my parents, like everybody was just so disappointed with the depression, and why can't you have this beautiful life and your children are healthy, like snap out of it. And when you're in that place, you don't know what to do. It was the first time I had experienced that. I didn't know what was happening.
It's
so
a
I was
spiral,
as frustrated. Man. Yeah, man. And I was as frustrated with myself as they were with me. So I was like, if I can just get out of the way and they can be happy and live their lives, and he can find some woman who wants to bake cookies. Yeah. So I totally broke down. I did drive myself home and admitted to him how I was feeling, and went to the hospital the next day and spent 6 days there as a student. I carried this little notebook around, and I was like, how are you feeling? Why are you here? What, I was so curious about like, how the fuck did I get here?
Yeah.
When you're in the bottom of the hole, I took that point as like, I'm super raw. I'm brand new. Like it was a rebirth almost. Like I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure out how to find value again, but I'm only listening to me, because listening to all y'all did not work.
Yeah.
So every step I took, I would check in, like, does this make me feel stronger or weaker? Does this make me feel like more alive, or is this something I'm doing for somebody else? And I was really rigid about only doing those things. You can imagine what happened in my marriage. It kind of went away, but I changed the dance steps, Anyway, so that's great. That's that. Great. And finding that, we all think like happiness is this holy grail, and happiness is a word I don't even know how to define. It's like, I think peace of mind is the thing that we're all really searching for. Yeah. Quiet the noises. Yes. And when you come at a really authentic place is what makes you feel strong, alive, value, what gives you value, then you are sitting all day long in that peace of mind. You're there, and you can experience such beautiful joy and such depth from that place of authenticity. So I hope more people can feel that. And there's so many possibilities. There are so many possibilities. So that's beautiful. Yeah. I mean, look at you're happier than ever. And it's all from a shitty relationship is what it was, Well, and it's, there's gratitude in that. It's like you've tore me down to, I was 2 inches tall and I had to build myself back up. Yep. So I'm sitting here. I know exactly who I am. I know, yes. And I'm single, super happy, have these 2 amazing boys that. How old are they now? They're almost 14 and 16. Do they wear the bandanas? The little one does. The big one, the big one's funny. He calls himself my special projects manager. He likes to pass off on everything. He's like, that color, I don't know. Like we're doing a line of t-shirts. He's like, that t-shirt's great. Let's do something on the pocket. Let's put that graphic on the back. I'm like, all right, we'll try that out, Yeah. So he's funny. They're both really proud. And, growing up now, they have the household of the very traditional, like doctor and doctor's wives. And they have 2 little siblings in that household, country club, all that stuff. Yeah. And then they have this household, mom. The hippie mom household, where like they are accepted for who they are at that moment. What are you curious about? Like, let's go chase it down and figure it out. And that you can build at like we bought a house. They were so excited that I was able to buy a house. Like they have gone along this, you know, when I first moved out and I didn't want anything because all the money in that relationship was the power. So I was like, I really, you know, I rented this teeny little house and we were like, oh, I can't afford organic milk, but you know, these noodles are going to be awesome. You know?
Yeah.
We did things like I didn't have a TV for a while. We just like made toys from sticks in the yard. So we built this life. I think they have memory of building this life together because it's been 10 years now. So from the time they were 4 and 6, now and they're 14 and 16. So they know firsthand that you can have an idea and you can keep, you know, it, and they see the work it takes, but they can build any life that they can think up.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Now, is it were you at Winston-Salem? Winston-Salem?
Yep.
Is that where the witches were?
No, that's Salem, Massachusetts.
Okay.
There are some witches around here now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about an hour north of Charlotte, a couple hours from Asheville. So we're kind of right in the middle. You can Raleigh and Charlotte.
Is it cheap out there?
It's lovely. Yes.
That's
my
great.
house, which is 3 bedrooms, 2 stories, this cute little cottage, turquoise cottage with a yellow front door, front porch, the whole thing. $170,000.
Oh,
which people in LA are like, oh my God, it's free.
You're killing me. I love it. I love talking to people like you because I have this fantasy of like, if I could just get to a level of comedy where I can just hub out of anywhere, because I can do this podcast anywhere.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
You know, just have a mid-century house that's like 200 grand instead of 2 million. And and not have any bills.
You absolutely could.
You know, I know. So
that is a possibility for you.
I love the idea of it, you know, and you know what I always tell people, you can always move back. You go, you know what? Didn't dig it. You know, who cares?
Go back for, you know, a week every couple months. Like bi-coastal is a thing. Yeah.
Oh, I was bi-coastal till the pandemic. You know, New York and LA. The 2 highest properties on the planet. But you know, I follow these apps on these things on Instagram, you know, cheap old houses. And there's another one, mid-century house hunter, and they pop up and I'm like, hey man, this is going to be like $900 a month. I could just do that, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be a little tough to get to the airport or whatever. But in the meantime, you're like, man, look where I'm at, you know?
But yeah, you and my best friend have the same aesthetic. Like the houses you post, I forward them to her because she's like, oh my God, so she loves that mid-century vibe.
Yeah, I love that.
But yeah, it's tougher we have a little airport here.
Yeah.
That you can show up 30 minutes before the flight and they're like, oh, hey, yeah, we were looking for you. Come on, you know?
Yeah.
It's sweet. There's something to be said for a little airport.
Oh, I love it. We got a little one here, Burbank. I mean, it's little for LA. And, you know, I it was like 30 minutes before the flight. I'm all, I'll head over there now. You know, it's 8 minutes away. And I got the TSA pre-check. I just blazed through, you know.
Yep. Just show up like it's a private plane. You're like, yeah, I'm here.
All right. Let's tell everybody where to find your stuff and your Instagram. So let's give them that.
Okay. JenniEarle.com. And that's JenniEarle. And then this is Jenni Earle on Instagram.
Did Reese Witherspoon get some? Did she reach out ever?
She never did. So she had them or has them. I don't know what her clean out, you know, theories are. But yes, she had them in her possession at one point and voted for them, which I'm very grateful for you, Reese.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I would love to make that connection again.
Yeah. And are you working on new designs constantly and phasing out old ones?
Yes, I love to drop to and add to every season. Wow. So it's kind of, you know, it kind of keeps that, like, if you like it, you better get it because it might not be here again.
I love that. Yeah. You got to do that.
People, we don't need more than 16 choices. I'm just going to say it. We do not.
I know.
Inventory aside, that's just too many choices. Like menus that are 5 pages long. I'm like,
I hate it. Like Cheesecake Factory. It's like, What, you make all of this? You know,
Yeah. If you make all of this really well,
to crab shapiro to
Gross.
to
You can't do all of
tikka
that
masala. Get out of here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, different regions. We're doing all the things. So we started with 12. That was like a sweet spot, but we kind of bumped up to 16 because I'm sentimental about some that don't sell super well. And like, we'll just keep him around because he's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're coming up. 2 new mantras are coming out in August.
All right.
And they're really fun.
Well, thank you for doing the show. It was great talking to you.
It was great talking to you too. I appreciate it so much.
It's so cool. I love your stuff and I love your story. It's just it's just a great story. And, I'll spread the word on it. We'll get you in some more stores. And
that'd be great.
Just keep building that and looking forward to what your t-shirt line's going to be like.
Yeah.
And all of that. Please stay in touch. And this will be out tomorrow. So awesome. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it so much. Yeah. Shout it from the rooftops. We're ready to grow.
All right. Thank you so much.
Gene.
All right. There you guys go. Another episode of The Grail. Thank you for tuning in and make sure you check out all the bandanas.